Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Unfinished, the podcast, the show, really just the yap sesh where I get my thoughts out the brain because I'm not trying to go insane, let me tell you. And I have found just by showing up consistently, even though this is my fourth episode, that it's just nice to get these thoughts from the internal headspace into the external because I do this for myself ultimately as a means to reflect, and that's something I really look forward to when I get older, just having these as time capsules to, examine where I was at in my life. And I think that's the beauty of recording yourself via video, photo, voice, audio, even just writing down notes. That's why journaling is so helpful because you're able to reflect on the period and season of your life. And that's kind of what today's episode is about. We're going to be talking about reflection, roots, upbringings, and just overall growth because that is the end goal, to grow and transform with this all. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Today we are here in this beautiful spot called Warner Park in Manhattan, Kansas. If you've never been, I would recommend. It has some cool trails. I've been here before, but this is my first time ever recording here, so it's a first for everything, and sure enough, here we are. And also, you may notice that I'm not using my usual setup. I'm using my phone as the microphone because if it works, it works. You can't let anything stop you from creating, and ultimately, nothing will stop you from creating because you will always find a way. And with that being said, though, normal setup will be back soon. But if the audio sounds different, that is why. But we're here nonetheless. And yesterday, I just decided to take a spontaneous 2-day trip back home. And it's been a while since I've returned here. And since living in the city, it's like a 2.5-hour drive from me. So I don't really frequent back as often as I should. But every once in a while I will, and it had gotten to a point where I'm like, okay, as soon as I know I'm cluttered like mentally up here, and I wanted to get out in the countryside before the summer came to a close, and both things corresponded perfectly to where it was like, okay, let's take a trip out west, aka Northeast Kansas, aka not the boondocks, but sometimes it feels like it. Kidding. But yeah, it's really nice to just be back. I really love road trips, so I always love a 2.5-hour drive where I can just listen to music, listen to a podcast, and just sit with my thoughts and look out the window. Because if you've ever driven I-70 through Kansas, you know the Flint Hills, beautiful spot, beautiful scenery, just the rolling hills, the prairies all around you, left and right. Even in burn season, I love driving through the prairie during burn season because you get to see all the smoke, you get to see the transition of growth, decay, and currently the prairies are pretty green. Not super green because it is approaching the fall season, but yesterday, as soon as I came back, my first stop was the Flint Hills Kansas Prairie trails. And if you've ever been out there, you know just how beautiful those are. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. I'll be posting some photos there soon on my Instagram. So tap in with that. AJ Willan on Instagram. AJ Willan photo. Link in bio. You know where to find my socials. You know where to find me. And ultimately, it was a much needed vacation. I'm gonna call it a vacation because that's what it feels like. It was a much needed return to the hometown area. And as soon as I got to the trail, there were only 2 cars there. This was probably like noon, so not really busy. And it was cloudy and kind of rainy on my way back home. So I was like, damn, is it gonna be raining while I'm trying to hike? Thankfully, it wasn't. Thankfully, it was just cloudy. So I'm like, shout out. And there were only like 4 people on the trail, which was nice. And most of them passed me when I got up to the beginning. So it felt like it was just me out there, in this vast field, prairie, miles upon miles, just looking out in the distance. And it really made me realize how small I am in compared to everything. And that's why I love nature in general, because every time I go out, it doesn't even matter where. Like, I'm feeling it right here in this moment. I've seen people bike past me, walk past me already. And it's just something beautiful to sit with your thoughts, sit outside, listen to the insects chime, if you can hear them. And overall, I'm just feeling very calm in this moment. And yesterday really kickstarted that, and it really recharged me as well. Made me realize I can really just drive 2.5 hours, go hit up a hike that I've known my whole life, basically. And it does wonders to the mental, let me tell you. Oh, it's almost as if we were supposed to be outside our whole lives. It's almost like the cavemen kind of had something figured out. But, that's a whole different topic we can talk about another time. Maybe I will sometime soon. Because I have a lot of theories on the cavemen and just that whole prehistoric era in general. Let's not get sidetracked, though. Let's speak about why we're here. I've been reflecting a lot lately. A lot of it has been nostalgia for parts of my life, earlier years, lessons learned, and something that really sticks with me is coming back to a location. It could be years since being there, but as soon as you step into that environment, I feel as though everything gets resurfaced for me, and not necessarily in like a triggering way. It's more so just a feeling. This has been central to me through all these different phases of my life, and here I am in this current phase, in this current season of life, revisiting. And I don't know, it just really like makes me think about all the lessons learned growing up. And I call everything a lesson these days, because life is the teacher itself. Like, I am already a lifelong learner. I'm sure you are a lifelong learner as well. And what we have to learn is simply what we have in our day-to-day, our reality, how we interpret that, how we act upon it, our decisions, our choices, all of it. And the past offers a lot to teach you. And I'm a very nostalgic individual. I have always been. I've always been a ruminator as well, which rumination, I don't know. There's pros and cons to rumination. However, I feel like generally speaking, ruminating thoughts can be really hard to deal with at times. And I'm an overthinker. I'm a ruminator. So I fully understand and get it. However, I've been realizing that all of these feelings, emotions, and thoughts that I typically sit in and reflect and ruminate on, I came to the same conclusion, whether it be what the experience had taught me at the time or why I am thinking about that time, and looking at it from a place in this present moment, having more self-awareness than I did in those phases of my earlier life. It's kind of nice because I'm able to identify more so the patterns and behaviors from the time, and even of recent times, if I'm being honest, because like rumination, reflection is something that will always be a part of our lives, and that's just the past for you, The past is the past for a reason. However, we always go back to the past mentally for whatever reason that may be. And I really love the present moment. However, I find myself at times trying to think about my future, thinking about my past, and ultimately, I'm realizing that does me no good. That does me little to no good, looking back on all these moments, good or bad, or all these future moments that can happen and will happen. Who knows? That's the thing. Who knows what the future holds? And I'm realizing that overthinking is really just a byproduct of not being present, because 9 times out of 10, I take that back. 10 times out of 10, whenever I'm overthinking, I'm thinking about a situation that had happened previously or that will happen. And I'm just trying to predict the outcome of events and how it will unfold, how it had previously unfolded, things I can do to avoid the actions from the lessons taught via experience. And ultimately, there's no point in sitting with those ruminating feelings because you're just going to come to the same conclusion, and it's not worth the stress. It's not worth the mess. It's not worth sitting and thinking. And there is a difference between reflecting on the past moments and being able to just kind of think about them and not get too caught up in them versus constantly cycling back to those experiences, whatever they had to teach you, whatever they had for you at the time. And I guess that's just the beauty of life, the beauty of presence, the beauty of growth, transformation. And I like to pride myself that I'm very adept to change. I really try to adapt as well as I can and really embrace change, because what other option do we have ultimately? And whilst I love that, I think I struggle more so with the fear of change than I would like to admit. However, in those moments, I always try to remind myself that it's worth taking the risk, because the fear is always going to be present. The fear will always exist within your mind. And it's just a matter of taking a step outside of your mind, circling back to reality, taking a breath in and allowing yourself to breathe out, knowing that everything is going to be fine. You're only feeling that fear because it's uncomfortable to you. It's new territory. And to embrace fear and change is one of the most powerful things we can do as a human in our lifetime. Nothing is permanent, everything is temporary, and that is probably one of the best lessons I have learned of my 21 years of living, even though I'm still so fucking young. That's the thing. I be sitting here yapping to the lens, and it's nice because I don't think that you have to be a certain age. I don't think you have to have older age to have more wisdom. I just really look forward to looking back when I am 5, 10, 20, 50 years older than I am today, and just honestly using these as like a reflection, as a timestamp for memories and for my mindset at the time, because like I said, we're all lifelong learners, and it is up to us whether we want to continue to, grow, continue to expand our mind, expand our surroundings, or stay stagnant. And the choice is yours. And me personally, I'm gonna grow. I'm gonna continue growing. I'm going to get to the dream life I want to live, because I'm already living the dream life I want to live. I may not have everything I have in that dream life. However, I'm a step in that direction. And that is what showing up for yourself looks like. And I found through reflecting on these moments of my life, these phases where, I thought, I'll be real. There was a point like 10 years ago, I was like 11. I don't really have much conscious at 11 right now. I can't really remember. But like even just middle school, high school era, where it's like, oh, what's in store next for me? I had a vision of what I wanted to do. And I can confidently say that I am living a version of that. It may not have been the same replication of what I thought it would be, picture to picture. However, that's unrealistic unless you actually write down your goals and manifest that shit and stay consistent. Consistency is the most important thing I've also come to realize, and I struggle with consistency at times. However, it's a matter of showing up truly, even if it looks like little actions for yourself, even if it looks like just simply getting out of bed, simply feeding yourself, taking a shower, showing up to work, all these little things that may seem mundane in your day-to-day life, especially if you're working like a 40-hour week these days, because let's be real, we gotta work to live, unfortunately. And that's another thing that I grasp on how we're living in just a capitalistic society. But ultimately, you just gotta adapt. And That's not to say to give up on trying to change society at all, but more so trying to change from within first, because how can you expect others to change when you have yet to? Everything starts from within, because we are ultimately beings from the soul of the world, and the soul of the world knows what's up. Shout out The Alchemist, because that quote was from it. I did just rip that quote from it. And it's true. It's true. You are merely a reflection of me. I am merely a reflection of you. And even if we're not the same, that's the beauty of life. We're all unique in our own way, and we're never going to be the same. However, there may be similar tendencies, but we're all on our separate life path to grow whilst being interconnected, which I find that so special. And it always reminds me to be grateful for what I have and to just treat people with more kindness, because kindness is so lost these days. Tell me why there's a lack of empathy. Like, I understand that we're all going through some shit. I understand that shit has hit the fan. However, let's not forget what brought us here. Let's not forget how important community is, connection. All of these things play into our daily living in society. Like, are we going to change for the better or worse? And until we transform within, everything will remain the same. The reflection period truly has a lot to offer you, and I think that's a part of the past, being able to look back in these time periods in these locations as well. That's why I love revisiting sites. It's always going to be a new experience. I don't care if it looks the same. It's never going to look the same from these pair of eyes, because it's always changing. Life is changing. My mental is changing. And I think that's the thing too. I am just naturally constantly changing. And that's the beauty of it all. Being able to go through these periods of transition, to find ourselves, to lose ourselves, to find people, to lose people, to just grow as a human, as a soul. And I just love growth, man. It's very scary at times. Change is scary. I mean, that's why we fear a lot of the things we fear. That's why it's not easy to just instantly switch your routine to get to where you want to be the next day, because it takes time and consistency and effort. Are you going to show up? Are you going to face your fears? Or are you going to be comfortable for the rest of your life in what feels like comfortability, but ultimately you should ask yourself, is this really where I want to be for the rest of my life? I don't know, just some thoughts I've had since being back here. Feeling very reminiscent and nostalgic per usual. Only difference is that I'm back here, back home. Similar version of myself, just growing and yapping per usual. That's one thing that's never changed. Been a yapper since the womb, for real. All that being said, I hope you can take these words and reflect on your own life and your situation and ask yourself, what can I do today to help me live the life I want to live tomorrow, 10 years from now? It takes daily effort and consistency. You know what you want. You know how you're going to get it. You may not feel like you do in this moment, but trust yourself from within and take some time to just listen. Take some time to sit outside, to sit with your thoughts and clear the mind. And with all that said, I think that is everything for today. You know where to find me. Link in bio. I will see you next episode. Good talk.